Yep.
One doesn't want his book.
That's right. I'll pull it out. Oh. I will take it for sure.
They're not all fit.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Harris. I'm
Good
John
morning.
Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of who all you're talking to this morning and a couple things about this procedure. On this side of the table, we are staff members here in the board offices. Myself, Dr. Brenda McCready is our assistant director. Ms. Ashley Vales is our attorney and legal counsel.
Okay.
On the other side of the table, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members that are decision makers here today. For you, we've got Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond.
Morning.
We're here today with your application to be a pharmacy technician in the state of Arkansas. You told us nothing would be of issue, or nothing would come back, but we did have something pop back the board members are going to want to talk to you about here in a moment.
Okay.
In this process, I'll turn it over to Ms. Vales to give them an overview of what they've just received on their little tablets that they're looking at, and then they'll want to talk to you about it.
Okay.
At some point, they're going to come up with what their suggested decision would be. And since it's an informal conference, you could either agree or disagree with it. If you agree with it, we do whatever it is they tell us that they want us to do. If you disagree with whatever they come up with, then it's kind of your chance to do one of two things. One is to say, forget this whole thing and walk off. The other would be to request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date. The full board is these 4 members plus the other 4. Instead of me sitting here, there'd be a hearing officer, a court reporter. They swear everybody in, and it's a more formal procedure, kind of like what you'd see if you go to court or if you watch a court TV show.
Okay.
So I was asked, do you know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about how this works?
No, sir. You did a good explanation.
Well, if that changes during this, I realize you've never sat in that chair. If you've got a question in a minute, wave your hands, get our attention. We'll try to do our best to answer any questions you've got.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure thing.
And we have brought Ms. Harris in for consideration this morning. She answered no with regard to the question about any arrest or citation or charges in her criminal history, but there was one that came back. It's from 1998. She was arrested August 27th of that year for theft by receiving, which was a C felony. There's no court records, probably due to the length of time since the charge, but it was later null prossed on January 22nd, 1999.
Hey, good morning. I'm well. How are you?
All right. That's a long time ago. So you want to tell us about what happened there, the best of your recollection?
Okay, so I didn't know. So let me just go back. When I applied for the application, because I am a notary of the state of Arkansas, and I have had my license to conceal a weapon, I didn't even know about this charge. What happened was, I guess because it was so long ago, and when it happened, I actually went to, I think, court. I never got booked in like at the county office, at the jail or whatever. It was like a holding cell. So when I went to court, she was like, the case got dropped. You won't have anything on your background, because at this time I was only 20 something and I was worried about my career. And so you won't have anything on your background. So I never knew that it was anything on my background up until I applied to get my pharmacy tech license. That night, it was, when I recollect back, I was at a friend's house, and one of my other friends had gotten drunk. At the time, I didn't have a vehicle, and I was not going to let him drive home drunk. So I used my friend's car. He said, you can take him home, because he had been drinking. And I drove to North Little Rock. Well, between me driving to North Little Rock from Sweet Home, I guess the Joe Henderson was his name. I'm just going to say Joe. This is Joe's car. He, I guess his girlfriend and someone said that the car was stolen, but he gave me permission to use his vehicle to take Morris home. And when we got to North Little Rock, the police had put us over, and I was like, stolen vehicle, I had never been in trouble and never gotten in any trouble since then, but that was what happened. And so we went to court. Whoever pressed the charges, I guess, they never showed up. I never talked back to Joe Henderson because, my mom was like, that wasn't cool. That could have ruined my career because it was a serious charge. And so, I don't remember the prosecutor. It was so long ago. I can't remember her name, but she was like, you won't have anything on your background. You have nothing to worry about. And ever since then, nothing has ever came back on me.
Okay.
So when this came about, I argued with Miss Christie, like, it's the wrong one. Like, that is not true, you know? And then when I had to call North Little Rock, and I was like, wait a minute, oh, but she had told me that nothing would be there. So in my mind, I'm thinking nothing would be there. Not thinking it doesn't disappear. But if you don't know the legal system, if someone say you have nothing to worry about, you're good, you know, don't let this hold you back, you're thinking you're okay. So had this not came about, I would not have ever known.
Okay, all right,
That makes sense.
it does make sense. What brings you to the world of pharmacy? Why do you want to be a pharmacy
Well,
technician?
Well, okay, so I used to be a CNA for a long time. And that's actually when I was worried about my background because I like the medical field. Well, recently as I've aged, I'm like, you know what? Healthcare is really kind of booming. It's not as hard as retail or, you know, I guess just doing anything hard, you know, just something I have a passion for helping people, if that makes sense. So I want to do something that I would be like, okay, I feel good about doing it. I'm serving because I'm a server and helping older people. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but just helping older people get their prescriptions on time, making sure that they understand how to take their medicines. That's kind of where I am. I've always enjoyed doing it. So I want to go back to doing that. So that's actually why I came to this hearing, because I could have said, you know what, it doesn't matter, but it matters to me because I want to clear my name, first of all. And second of all, I want to pursue what I have a passion for. And that's just why I'm here today.
Okay, well, you know, it's a lot of hard work.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
not an easy job.
I work
Okay.
hard. I understand that.
Okay.
And I'm
All right.
dedicated to the journey.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any of you gentlemen have any questions?
I just make a motion that we approve her permit.
I'll second. I'll go ahead, Clint.
Okay, we got everybody agreeing.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you guys. I
No,
appreciate it.
I got to take a
Okay.
vote.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Now you can cheer. Motion
Okay. Thank
passes.
you guys. I appreciate you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You'll do fine.
Thank
But like I
you.
say, if you don't mind hard work.
I know I don't.
Okay.
I'm not a stranger to
Okay.
that. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Wait a minute, you got to leave that purse because it's got pink. You know, you can give it to. You can give it to Ashley. You can actually. No, look at the lady beside you. It just totally matches her outfit there.
Okay, you guys have a great
Okay,
day.
you have a
Thank
good day. You take care.
Good. How y'all doing?
How you doing, Ms. Bone?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the Board of Pharmacy, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of who you're talking to at this front table and how this procedure works. On this side of the table, we are all staff members here at the Board of Pharmacy. Myself, Dr. Brenda McCready, who's our assistant director, Ms. Ashley Vales, who's our attorney. On the other side of the table, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members. They're just now getting copies of your application, which is what they're looking at on their tablets. We've got Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. You're here today with your application, and on it, you did let us know that something would probably come back. So thank you for being forthright, being honest and telling us that. And that's what they're going to want to talk to you about here in just a little bit.
Okay.
At some point, I'll turn it over to Ms. Vales and she'll give them an overview of what the staff actually found on there. And then they'll talk to you about it and at some point come up with what they want to do with your application.
Okay.
Whatever they decide they want to do, since this is an informal conference, you can basically either agree or disagree with, not a decision you necessarily have to make sitting right there right now. But if you agree with it, we go forth with whatever they've asked us to do.
Okay.
If you disagree, it's kind of your chance that after the hearing, you can think about it and say, well, forget this and walk away, or you could request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date. A
Okay.
formal hearing is all 8 board members, these 4 plus 4 more. A hearing officer generally sitting here doing this, court reporter, we swear everybody in as witnesses, and it's just a more formal procedure, kind of like what you'd see going to court.
Okay.
So I always ask 2 questions. Do you know why you're here today?
Yes.
And do you have any questions about how this works?
No.
If you change your mind on that, I realize you've never sat in that chair. If something is going on and you've got a question for us, by all means, wave your hands, get our attention. We'll try to do our best to answer any questions you have.
Okay.
Ms. Bales?
All right, we brought Ms. Bone in for consideration this morning. She did not disclose that she had ever been arrested, cited, or charged with any criminal offense, but there are two. On December 3rd, 2019, she was arrested and charged with domestic battery in the third degree. The matter was passed for 1 year to be dismissed, but on April 26, 2021, she was charged with contempt or failure to comply. On October 5th, 2022, she was charged with failure to appear. And October 9th, 2023, she was charged with failure to appear. And then on October 25th, 2024, she was again charged with failure to appear. All those charges were dismissed once she came back into compliance. And then on July 5th, 2022, she was arrested and charged with domestic battery in third degree misdemeanor. And she was charged with failure to appear on October 5th, 2022. She was charged with contempt and failure to pay on July 24th, 2023. And she was charged with failure to appear on October 25th, 2024. On June 24th, 2025, she was sentenced on the domestic battery third degree, charged to 1 year in jail suspended, and the charge remains on her record.
Well, the charge in 2019, it was more so my boyfriend. We were staying together and I was 19, of course, and we had got into a big fight and I ended up going because they said I was aggressive. I tried to go back on the case, but I ended up getting pregnant in 2023. I wasn't working. I didn't have no income. So I just forgot about going to court, honestly. And with the 2022 case, I was staying with my girlfriend at the time and I was pregnant and we had got into a big argument and I had ended up just leaving and not coming back. I just honestly forgot about the whole court thing. I just blew over it with me and my child. I've been working. I've been trying to move and find other jobs and get my life together, honestly, and being a mom. And that's really all I can say. Yes, ma'am. Since it doesn't, with me being a mom now, it's a lot of stuff that I think about before I do, and I take a lot of stuff into consideration as well. So, with me working and moving on up, it's doing better for me, you know. Right now, I'm working at Nuke's Eatery. I'm a server, and I do back of the house, front of the house. I've been working there for almost 2 years. I went to school for the pharmacy tech, trying to do better and find a new job. That's really it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No.
Are you currently on probation?
No, I'm not. Everything got dismissed when I went to court. They did say that I did have a warrant on there, but turns out that was just something they just forgot to take off. When I went to court, they just told me like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Cause it said that I had a warrant on there." So I was like, "Okay." I came up there and they just cleared everything out, and I got notarized and everything. I didn't even know nothing about that part. They just told me that everything was dismissed, so I apologize.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it looks like we can kind of just dismiss the first one because all the charges were dismissed, so it's kind of a non-issue, the one from 2019. Aside from the whole issue of being consistent with our actions and this being a suspended sentence that's still pending and very recent, it concerns me that one, is kind of a pattern of repeated offense, and two, that failure to show up is kind of a common theme. And if I counted it right, there's about 6 times of failure to appear. That's not following through on something that you have been told or something that's important that needs to be done. And working in a pharmacy, I mean, there are lots of situations where you just got to do what you're supposed to do and you can't not follow through on that.
Is there anything out there still hanging that we need to know?
No, ma'am.
I think with the recency of the events, I would not, I would not be in favor of approving today.
Itself in 2022. Was that?
So the bell would toll.
Yeah, there were some failure to appears and pay that. But the actual domestic issue was back in 22.
Well, but the fact that she has a court issue hanging out there, I mean, the bell tolls a year from June. I mean, we could,
Me, it's similar to the ones we, recency being it would be similar to the last. Until cleared, which would be June of 20.
right,
Assuming nothing happens or comes up, I'm not speaking for.
Yeah.
so if I understand what you're saying, that we could basically say that we give the board staff authorization that once this bell tolls, that assuming nothing happens, that they could issue a permit. Is that what you're saying?
That's my thought process on it, these are both domestic. Has been time since the event itself. Follow up and hopefully those are taken care of and given a year. Happen.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts. Just did a better job expounding on it, so I appreciate it. Will the application expire before this time next year? So we could give her an option to withdraw and reapply. Oh, I'm sorry. You said it won't expire before then.
Close.
Okay. It's
We're
right
very
after.
close.
Okay.
Yeah, like a month, yeah.
Better before saying that. Then we would be able to issue.
Yes.
So does that make sense? Your application expires first week in July of 26. This suspended sentence will end June 24th of 2026. That leaves you about a week right there to get your information from the court back to staff to issue that. So if not, you could reapply, do a new application, but that'd be another application fee.
Okay.
All right.
Just,
You want to put that in a motion and vote on it, and we can reflect it in a letter.
yeah, I'll put it in a motion. I wanted to let Mrs. Moan know that typically if you have things that are hanging over your head, we just historically, do not approve the application while that's still pending. So, all right, so I'll put it in a motion. My motion would be that once Ms. Bone is able to provide back documentation that her suspended 1-year jail sentence is no longer active, that she can provide that documentation back to the staff and they can approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion of that motion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. So you've got to show up. And end of June next year,
Yes, ma'am.
if you want to work and be a pharmacy technician. So you did, I admire you for showing up here today. You did keep its appointment, but you've got to start paying attention to things and be where you need to be at a specified time. That's just it's cost you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, well, good luck to you.
Good luck.
Got messages?
We
There we go. Hey, Beth Ann, can you hear us? All right. Good. How are you?
Yes.
Or she's muted.
Yeah, that's fine. She nodded her head.
I unmuted. Do you want me muted or unmuted?
Just if you have something to say, you can unmute or you can leave it off, just making sure that you can hear us. All right, with that, I will kick it over. Dr. Newsom, you want to chair this for us and just call us to order?
Okay, yes, we'd like to call this meeting to order. Dr. Kirtley?
All right, I'm just going to show for the record, so we have it on there. We have one board member on Zoom with us, Dr. Beth Ann Davenport. Here in the office, we have Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's our informal chair today, and will also chair this emergency hearing for any votes that we need to take. Got Dr. Brian Jolly and Dr. Rodney Richmond. With this, we have two issues to bring before the board as part of this emergency hearing. I will kick it over to Ms. Bales, and we also have Dr. Brandon Holland here for some stuff as a witness.
This is in regard to case number 2025-047 regarding pharmacist PD 07823. We're passing out the inspection report by Dr. Holland and Dr. Davenport. You should have that report in your email. And I'm going to call Dr. Holland as a witness. And at the conclusion of his testimony, we're going to be asking the board to make several orders because the board staff feels that this is an emergency situation that is could affect the health and safety of the public. So with that in mind, I'll call Dr. Holland as a witness. And Dr. Holland, just tell us what you did, when the inspection was, and what you did, and your conclusions from that inspection that gave rise to this hearing.
Right. So on 7/22 of 2025, Dr. Lindsay Tankersley and myself went up to do an inspection, and it was time for a routine inspection, but this was also pursuant to a patient complaint. So when we start getting in there, looking at documentation, things kind of start to unravel. We find we're starting to see a lot of other additional things that are problematic at that time. Getting into the compounded stuff, I mean, I've asked for dispensing records from the software company. Over 900 products compounded since between 7/1 of 2025 and 7/28, over 900 products compounded. I had compounding records for about 100, at most, maybe 175, maybe.
What was the time frame again?
7/1 of 24.
Yeah.
Sorry, if
24.
I said 25, I apologize. 7/1 of 2024 to 7/28 of 2025 was what I was provided. So in my review of those compounding records, we also had a PDMP report. There were somewhere over 100 not reported to the PDMP. The PDMP report also revealed products that were reported to the PDMP, but I didn't have any compounding records to support it. There were some expired chemicals when we were there inspecting. Obviously, I don't have records to show that those were used, but in review of the PDMP report, I can see that at least one chemical was used around 10 times in a compounded preparation. Another chemical used maybe half a dozen times. And these BUDs were falsified on the compound. On a couple of them, I did have compounding logs for the chemical, and they were falsified. So I think the actual expiration date was 21 or 22, but the compounding log said 26, I believe. So the year of the expiration date for the chemical, same lot number, everything, but it was made as 26 on the compounding record. So I was in the area earlier this week and decided to go back by there. I wanted to make sure I had not missed anything. I wanted to make sure there were no additional records that I had overlooked. He confirmed that there were no additional records. What I had is what I had. I confirmed that there were no additional chemicals missing anywhere else in the pharmacy that would have possibly justified the use of those expired chemicals. He said there were no additional chemicals. I reviewed another 24 records while I was there, and about 75% of those records had a discrepancy. whether it be missing documentation, inappropriate assignment of BUD. But I think the worst thing was, in my review, I'm looking at the lot numbers and I notice a lot number for a certain chemical. It stands out to me because I've seen it on another compounding record. Come to find out, it looks like estradiol was used in place of testosterone according to the compounding documentation. At least 4 times since Dr. Tankersley and I were there on 7/22/2025. So not only was estradiol used instead of testosterone on one of the compounding records, when I look at the calculations, it was also the estradiol was about 4 times as potent as what the testosterone should have been. So if it was supposed to be a 4 milligram per gram, it was actually a 24 milligram per gram is what was made.
Then you also had, or we have found that there appears to be a lack of reporting to PDMP.
Right.
Are you saying that all in the context of compounding, or there's a separate general?
So just all compound related. Compounding, yes, sir. Yes, sir. All compounding related. And even in reviewing the PDMP report, there were some discrepancies where testosterone was reported as estradiol to the PDMP. Don't know how that happens.
Built incorrectly in the system. So you think it's built incorrectly in the system,
that
so
would be-
therefore it's not.
Correct. That would be my guess.
Well, the best case scenario, it's just reflected wrong in the system. But when we don't have good compounding records to further validate it and a miscalculation, it just, we can't make sense of it.
So just to be clear, so if we were to take action, then that's not going to leave open other things that are kind of outstanding that you've noticed.
There are other things that will be addressed.
There are other issues that we would anticipate having before the board in a full hearing later. Right now, the request of staff, and we have 3, and our counsel will correct me when I misspeak or leave something out. Staff feels there are immediate issues that have got to be addressed on compounding. Number 1 would be to have a cease and desist of all compounding other than, reconstitution of commercial products that are like oral antibiotics that you're just adding, water to. Number 2, staff believes there should be an immediate recall of any products that do not have appropriate compounding logs, that have inaccuracies in their compounding logs, or that use out-of-date ingredients that could still be in patients' cabinets or for use. So recall all that. And I think number 3 is there needs to be an immediate addressing of basically holding up any errors in PDMP reporting of controlled substances that have been dispensed in a retroactive manner to make corrections to PDMP, because prescribers need to see that. It needs to be in the system.
Is there a viable transfer mechanism to another pharmacy for any active prescriptions that are more chronic?
There are other pharmacies in the area that are actively compounding that we do not have these issues.
Correct.
So if the reason I'm asking is, as part of the motion, maybe one of the actions would be that they're required to make sure that those patients are taken care of at an alternate facility, or at least notify the patients so that they can request a transfer.
If they're having to recall products that are still in use and cannot compound them, their only option is assisting that patient find somewhere else to get it, or the patient's not going to get a compounded product. In some of this, I mean, I understand patients need compounded products, but they need them done right.
Correct. But I'm going to assume that, and I may be giving too much credit here, maybe there are some things that were done correctly that may not be recalled. I just want to make sure that patients are informed and made aware that they're no longer going to be compounding and they have plenty of time to come up with an alternate solution. And I don't think that's our job. I think that's the pharmacy's job.
We would anticipate putting this on our October agenda, and at that time, the board would make future decisions on that case or any changes to what we'd asked to suspend in emergency.
So is this against the pharmacy or against
The-
the PIC? Because if the PIC
It's-
were changed, would that?
It's both. I would say it's both for the case. Would you agree, Counselor? Because the pharmacy itself has all of these issues with the records. The pharmacy itself is responsible for the PDMP. And then the pharmacist, at the same point, we would not want the pharmacist to just go do the same thing at another pharmacy. I don't anticipate that happening, but this isn't just put one person's name on it and everything's fixed until there's.
Well, that
proof
was
of
my
corrective
thought
action.
process is if it's, the pharmacist's responsibility and there's a different PIC that came in, could they make the changes that were needed to do that again, or is it
I would say that until the board approves this pharmacist or this pharmacy to compound again, there should not be any compounding because this is significant.
Out of curiosity, when was the last inspection done?
I think prior to the one that was completed on 7/22 of 25, I believe it was 7/30 of 2024. And I want to say, in all the times that I've inspected, when I see 2 or 3 records a week, as I've told you, there were over 900 and something records that were compounded, and that's at a minimum. We don't even know about some of this stuff that may be other products that are billed as tablets, but were actually made into a suspension. There's so much unknown about this. But as I'm reviewing these records, if I only see 2 or 3 records a week, I only see 2 or 3 records a week.
I'm going to clarify. You're saying if you only see 2 or 3 records a week on inspection.
On inspection, correct.
But then when you actually asked for the data dump, you found out it was
Correct.
900 in a year.
That's correct.
Instead of 150 in a year. So there's appears to be a significant disconnect of what is actually reviewable upon inspection.
Correct.
For records maintained versus what was actually in the electronic system that was far greater. Which is, one of the concerns we have.
Trying to get a sense of what the last inspection was like. Has this gotten worse or and it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious, were these repeat observations?
There were multiple repeat observations that we're not discussing at the moment.
They're on the inspection.
Yes, that were on the inspection.
Okay.
Some related to compounding, compounded products not indicating that they were compounded, and also a BUD not on the label, which had been addressed several times. And I'll tell you from the time, so from 8/12, when I was up there, 8/12, which was this past Tuesday, Dr. Tankersley and I were there on 7/22. I reviewed 24 more records. Like I said, 18 of those 24 records, I'm seeing a discrepancy. That could be BUD assignment, that could be lack of documentation. But on two of those, in the time that 24 more records have been developed, 2 of those were expired chemicals with a falsified BUD on the compounding record. Not to mention, as we said, the ones that were estradiol was used instead of testosterone, according to the document. And these are bottles that look exactly the same. If you were in a hurry, pulled them from the shelf, these are going to look exactly the same. The lot number, the expiration date written down is for estradiol. It is not for testosterone.
Those patients need to be contacted first.
Correct.
Right.
And I think that's what warrants the emergency situation. Otherwise, we're waiting until October. And this seems to have not been corrected in the interim on Brandon's 2 visits.
We were building this for an October full board appearance and then in going back to double check records and seeing that it may be even worse than we originally thought. We brought this today for requesting emergency action for those 3 items.
Is compounding the only area where we're suspecting an issue?
There are other issues on inspection that we do not necessarily feel like are emergency hearing issues, but we will include those in a full hearing for the board at a later date.
So the discussion today is really around the compounding and you said the PDMP
Yes.
discrepancies. That's the context of what we're looking at today.
Our request is I would list them, and Ashley probably has it
I can
cleaner.
read it, but
There you go.
So we're asking for three things to be done regarding this case. One, no sterile or non-sterile compounding beyond reconstitution of commercial products. So that's a cease and desist of compounding. Recalling all non-sterile products that include out-of-date ingredients or lack documentation or have incorrect records that could be in use by patients. We're asking that the recall be completed within 10 days of receipt of the order, if the board approves, and take immediate action and report all controlled substances dispensed to the PDMP to make corrections. And then I think there was discussion that patients be informed that the pharmacy would no longer be compounding, so they could make arrangements to get transferred.
I think I was taking that as if it appears they're going to have ongoing needs for those medications, they need to proactively help those patients find what they need.
So that's what we're asking for in this emergency hearing.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments? Okay. Who wants to make a motion?
I mean, I would just simply make a motion that the board accepts staff's recommendations and steps.
On the pharmacy and the pharmacist.
Yes.
Okay, any other stipulations, Dr. Richmond? Dr. Boone? What's the form of a motion? Okay, may I get a second, please?
Also.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Richmond. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Thank you.
One more?
Yes, I have one more. This is case number 2025-038. This is a technician PT 19180. Sandra Pollard. I'm going to call Dr. McCready as a witness. I will say for the record, we had offered this technician based on the facts that were presented, a voluntary agreement to surrender her license. It was sent on July 17th of 2025, and I've not received any response. I asked for a response within 5 days. So having not received one, and based on the facts that Dr. McCready is going to testify to, we would ask that her license also be suspended on an emergency basis due to the health and safety of the public being at risk. I'm going to call Dr. McCready.
The board received notification from the pharmacy that technician Pollard PT 19180 had been working in that store since about January. One of the technicians went to the counter to pull some alprazolam to fill a prescription, and she did not have enough. They knew that they had had a full bottle plus a partial. They began an investigation, started looking for that drug. They did not find it. They began looking at other alprazolams. They were also short. As they went through the day, they ran some usage reports. They keep a pretty good perpetual inventory. They ran usage reports and noticed that they were short several strengths of alprazolam, Tylenol number 3, buprenorphine, clonazepam, diazepam. I do have a 106 here that lists the drugs that they were short. They felt like it was the technician, Ms. Pollard. She reported to work on Wednesday, the 16th. She was interviewed at approximately 4 p.m. by the pharmacist and a technician. During the interview, she admitted to the theft. Law enforcement was contacted and she was arrested later that day. And as Ms. Bell stated, we have asked for a voluntary surrender, which we have not received. And we would ask that the board do an emergency suspension of her technician license. Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
And a second? Have a motion by Dr. Boone and a second by Dr. Richmond. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes.
That is all we have for emergency hearing. Dr. Davenport, thank you for getting on and completing our quorum for us and hope you have a wonderful day.
Y'all too. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I think we'll take like a quick, probably 2-minute shuffle to get our next group in.
Thank y'all for all y'all's hard work.
Now let's see if it, try to do that again. Test, test, test. There we go. All right, we're ready. Okay, board members, we are back on. We have pharmacy support group with us. You have tab number 6 on, well, in this. I should have looked to see if it is the same number on there. All right, in your packets, and I will kick it over to Eric Crumbaugh. Dr. Crumbaugh, if you want to tell us who you are, who you're with, and who you brought with us.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Eric Crumbaugh, and I am the co-secretary of the Arkansas Pharmacy Support Group. And I am here with Heather Haynes. Our group is advocating for her return to practice. She's been a great member since she's came in. She's been actively involved, and we are advocating for her to return to practice. So, and I'll let her introduce herself and tell a little bit about what got her here.
Okay, I'm Heather Haynes, and what got me here was a very, very bad decision involving alcohol. I went, well, this was last July, and I had a lot of stuff going on in my life that day, you know, that at that time, and I went out, we went to we were actually trying to get we'd been to the U of A, which is ridiculous, but orientation. And so we'd done that for 2 days and everything was just like, you know, and we decided, so I guess I pretended like I was in college and went out to a concert, and I drank way too much. I continued to drink all night. You know, we stayed up late. I woke up sick. At some point, I took a Xanax because I thought it might make me sleep. And I know that's embarrassing to even say. And so I knew not to go to work. I don't know why I did, but I even called in sick, and they're like, yeah, we really need you. And for some reason I was like, I'm going to eat some crackers. I'm going to pull it together. I'm fine. I wasn't fine. I was impaired. Should not have been at work. I got to work, and I had to go outside a couple of times. I was very sick. They could smell alcohol on me. I couldn't function, you know. So I'm not proud of it, but so anyway, I went to Red Hill for 53 days, I think, and been active in the support group since then. And I've asked for forgiveness from everybody. I mean, I let a lot of people down, my family. I told Derek I wasn't going to cry. But I've gotten so much forgiveness. I've apologized to my employers, my place of work. I got more grace and forgiveness than I deserved. I'm the one still hard on myself. Everybody else has been great. Eric and Jennifer have been great. And so I'm just wanting to get back to pharmacy. It's important to me. Oh, sorry.
Thank you for sharing. I know it's hard.
I can tell you just on the board staff side, you know, we had gotten a report of, you know, she had been at work and she was obviously impaired that day. They did send us some video that we could review. And so we reached out to Heather. You know, we talked to her about, you know, we're going to have to pull you out of work. We really think you need to get an evaluation. And I think she would tell you, just like, it's like, I don't really think it's that big a deal, but I think that, you know, as we've gone through this process, you know, I think she's fully engaged and realized that, well, now that you look at it and have some kind of sobering context, it was. No drug diversion, and she mentioned taking a prescription drug. It was legally prescribed. But with this one, there was, you know, obvious impairment at work, which is why we were contacted on it and pulled her out of practice.
Okay, but you're doing fine now.
I am. I'm
Okay.
doing great now. Like he said, I was like, no, I do not have a problem. I am totally fine. I was like, John Kirtley, what are you talking about? You know, I'm not going to treatment. I'm not, you know. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to the 3-day evaluation. They'll tell me, y'all, she's fine. Well, they didn't. And so I was like, well, they're crazy too, apparently, you know, and then I reflected on it and I was like, that's not the kind of pharmacist I am. That's not the type of mom I am. It's not the type of person I am. So I was like, you know what? I think it would do me good. And so I went and you know what? Whether you have a problem or not, everybody can learn from that experience. I learned so much. I met so many people. It's been eye-opening. But yes, to answer you, I'm doing great now. Haven't touched any alcohol, you know, nor do I want to. So I would very much like to be able to practice pharmacy again.
So what have you been doing, while you're been away from the practice of pharmacy?
What have I been doing? I worked at a gift shop in town in Fayetteville, Children's Boutique.
Okay,
And when school was in last year, I was subbing.
okay, so you kept yourself busy.
I've been very busy. I have
Okay.
3 kids and
Oh, you're busy.
yes, my
Okay,
kids, I was honest with them. They're old enough and, you know, I just decided that they need to know that good people make mistakes
Mhm.
and you have to fess up and do what's right to make it better.
okay.
So this was not just an isolated event. Do you agree that you have an alcohol use disorder?
This was definitely an isolated event and to answer your question, you know, like you said, when this did happen, I was like, no, I do not have a problem. But once you learn more, I mean, there's so much to addiction and alcoholism and it's not just one, you know, it's not what you first think of. So yes, obviously I have a problem that needed to be taken care of and it has, and I am taking care of it. And
But it sounds like that you've been abstinent since,
oh, yes, sir.
okay. When's the last PEth test that you had?
Verify that.
Last week, I think.
Yeah, on our testing, we'll get PEth and F and PEth both. So, and it's, I mean, probably 20 times, 25 times in the last year.
Yeah, so last test was 8-1.
What was the result?
Okay. If they get a positive result like that on anyone in the group, generally, you know, one of them is going to call me pretty much immediately and say like, look, we're going to get the B test done. We're going to see, you know, we're going to revalidate, generally immediately send for another test for confirmation, but they have always, you know, Eric and Jennifer, just like Turner or anyone else, keep us in the loop on that. Since she's not been in practice, you know, it would not be necessarily as pressing, but we would then look at it as a potential contract violation of the agreement we have with her as well as with the support group. But we have not had that with Heather. We did not have any other reports of alleged impairment while at work or anything else. I don't remember anything about that. Like it was, you know, this day was very obvious, which pushed us towards, you know, the evaluation, and then we looked to the medical professionals on the evaluation.
So Dr. Crumbaugh, what's your advocacy for today?
So we're advocating for her to return to work at 20 hours a week supervised. And then we can move on, see how she handles that and move on from there.
Do we need a motion for a contract as well?
Yeah, it's kind of the two questions. If you're willing to let Heather go back to work, staff has no qualms with that whatsoever. And then if you just want us to do our general contract, you know, and I point out once again, like we did not have any drug diversion in this standpoint. We should not have any pending criminal issues, whether we would be told about those or not. Like we're not worried about any of those aspects in this one.
Any other questions? Ms. Haynes? I would like to entertain a motion.
Wouldn't you want me to do it or you? Okay, so I'd make a motion that we allow Dr. Haynes to go back to work 20 hours a week supervised, and that we implement standard contract. You got something?
It would, yeah, the way the board is interested to do it is it's generally named indefinite. On hers, you would probably have opportunity for review after 5 years. So it'd be at least 5 years. And during that 5 years, community service. We name these as they're a probationary order. So it would have a probationary status, even though it does not restrict her ability to practice other than what would be outlined in the order itself. It starts it off at 20 hours. Usually we would get advocacy once she has worked some and the support group has continued to monitor her to advance to unsupervised work at 32 and then full-time as we bump up with meetings with the board.
So indefinite.
Indefinite,
With
but
a review after
with
5
reviews,
years.
like she could request a review at 5 years is kind of the way we've modeled the ones, especially if they have like no diversion issues or anything like that.
Second that. Question on the 20 hours, is that, I know it's supervised, is there a length of day or anything like that? Is it?
No.
Yeah.
The two things, once again, I've been here a long time at this point. It helps make sure that, like for Heather, she doesn't just get left alone in a pharmacy or forced to go from nothing to 60 hours a week in an environment she may not be used to, or a computer system she's not used to. I mean, I've shared my own stories that, I've been turned loose in a pharmacy after about 2 hours being there and told good luck before. And it's like, well, I know how to counsel patients. I know how to do this, but I don't even know how this computer works. So hopefully there's someone there that knows how the computer works.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, I have a motion on the floor in a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Thank y'all
So
very much.
you'll get a chance to go back to work. Good luck.
We'll get that for you the next couple of days and send it to you. If you've got any questions, reach back out to us on it.
Do you have somewhere potentially lined up? Okay. Yeah.
Well, and now you'll have the step to say, yes, I can work, which is a whole nother thing. But
Thank y'all very much. Have a great day.
yep, appreciate you. No, we will
We'll see you
to
again.
get advanced hours. It may be Zoom.
Yeah.
I know we got a couple of our 10 o'clocks here. Saturday.
It's a life of luxury up there now.
One of them.
Yeah.
It's not super old. Across the street from the bookstore. Yeah. I mean, it's like across the street.
Okay. Is it part of the quad? You don't know, okay.
Who we have, Ms. Bales?
How you doing?
Good, how are y'all?
Ms. Momfrey?
Yeah.
All right. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Also, I know it's hot outside, but thankfully we got air conditioning. I'm going to tell you just a couple things about kind of who you're speaking with this morning and how this process works. On this side of the table, we are pharmacy board staff members here in the office. Myself, Dr. Brenda McCrady, who's our assistant director, Ms. Ashley Bales, who's our attorney and legal counsel. On the other side of the table, we have 4 pharmacy board members who are decision makers here today for your application. We have Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. With your application that we received, you told us that there would be nothing to come back on any checks or anything else, but we did find something. So the board members are going to talk to you about that in just a few minutes. I'll turn it over to Ms. Bales to explain kind of what is in the application. The board members are looking at it on their tablets now. They'll have a discussion with you, and at some point they'll come up with what they want to do with your application. Since it's an informal conference, whatever they come up with, you could either agree or disagree with. Not that you have to make a decision sitting right there today, but if you agree with it, we go forth and do whatever they've asked us to do as the board. If you disagree, it's kind of your chance to either say, you know what, forget this, walk away from it, or you could request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date for reconsideration. The full board is these 4 members plus 4 more, a court reporter up here explaining a hearing officer up here instead of me explaining everything, a court reporter taking everything down. Everyone gets sworn in as witnesses, and it's just a more formal process like you would see going to court. So I was asked, do you know why you're here today?
Why am I here today?
Do you know why you're here today for your application?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about how this works?
No.
If you change your mind and you have a question you want to ask us about something, because I realize you've never sat there before, get our attention, ask any questions you have, and we'll do our best to help answer them.
Okay, thank you.
And we brought Ms. Mumford in for consideration today. This is a tech reinstatement application. She did not disclose any arrests, but there was one from March of this year. She was charged with terroristic threatening Class A misdemeanor. On April 1st, 2025, she went to court and pled guilty to the charge and was sentenced to $450 fine on court costs and 30 days jail suspended. She was ordered to have no contact with the victim in the case, and she's supposed to go back to court on April 7th, 2026, but that is only to report on the status of the need for a continued no contact order. But again, she didn't disclose this arrest, so that's what brings her here today.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about what happened?
Yes. So I had a friend. Me and the friend, we really wasn't seeing eye to eye on certain things, and she started to like my other friend or whatever. So I just backed up from that a little bit because I already knew how I could get. But once I left her alone, it was a social media post that caught my attention. And at first I went and spoke with my other friend, the one that she liked. I knew him prior to 2 years. So I normally go and talk to him about certain things. So once I went to go talk to him, he was on the phone with her the whole time, and he recorded the phone call, and she said a few words. So I was a little upset on what she said, and I tried to go to her room, like to find her. And then I had turned around, and then I left it alone. And then she made another one, and I just really got upset. And I threatened her, and she pressed charges.
Okay. But nothing physical, just all
No, ma'am.
verbal stuff? Okay.
Did you threaten to kill her, to beat her up?
I threatened to beat her up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so you've been a technician prior?
Yes, ma'am.
How long?
Since 2022.
Okay, and where were you working?
I was working at Premier Pharmacy, and then I worked at CVS Pharmacy.
Okay.
And then I worked at Farm Care, it's like a temporary pharmacy job.
And so, what came out with the courts?
I'm sorry.
What came out with the courts when you went to court? Did you have to go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the outcome there?
I just have a no contact order against her. Well, she has one against me, and I just have to pay a fine.
Okay, so are you under any probation or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Have you paid your fine yet in court costs?
Yes, I've paid half of it. I only have like $145 left.
Attorney, where does she stand with the courts?
Well, she doesn't necessarily have to go back to court. She's got to finish paying off that fine. There is a court date, but that's just for the judge to determine whether or not there's still a need for a no contact order between her and the victim in the case.
Okay.
So nothing sort of hanging on except for finishing paying the fines.
Okay. So she's eligible to go back to work when the fines are completed?
If that's y'all's
Okay.
order. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Richmond?
Since there's no pending court issue, say that we could reinstate her license upon proof of payment of the outstanding fine.
Is that a
Yeah,
motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dr. Jolly, did you
Just
Go ahead.
the recency of this is hard for the board to go and put you back into work right away. So you understand, we're giving you a good chance here to show us that you can do this, go get your court costs paid. Don't show back up in front of us, all right? The other thing, your license, on your application, you said that you hadn't been arrested and it was just 3 months, 2 or 3 months prior on that. So be sure that you're answering that honestly, because going forward, we're going to see that. So put that in there, say, yes, I did, put an explanation of what's going on. It's always easier to, explain what happened than to have it show up and you haven't been honest about it.
I'm sorry about that. I was just in a rush of doing it. I didn't mean to be dishonest. So I apologize for that.
Okay, y'all ready to go to the vote? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. So pay that fine so you can get back to work.
Thank you.
So what's today?
August 14th.
No, what's today?
What's all
My birthday.
It's your
I didn't want
birthday.
to bring that up.
Hey.
Thank
Yeah.
So
you.
the other thing is, don't go do anything crazy for your birthday and get in
I'm
trouble
not.
either. All right, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Okay. Morning, Maurice. Good.
Turner, tab number 9. I'll turn on her microphone.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the pharmacy board. I'm going to tell you kind of who you're talking to this morning and a couple things about this procedure.
Okay.
In a moment, we'll turn it over to Ms. Vales to give an overview of your application. But on your pharmacy technician application, you told us that nothing would come back on any background check or anything else, but we did find some things. So the board members are going to want to talk to you about that and also want to know why you weren't truthful in that, but they'll get there in a minute. On this side of the table, we are staff members here at the board offices, myself, Dr. Brenda McCready is our assistant director, Ms. Ashley Vale is our attorney and legal counsel.
Okay.
On the other side, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members who are decision makers here today for your application. Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. Because it's an informal conference, once they review this, have a discussion with you, at some point, the board members will have some proposed decision of what they want to do.
Okay.
You can either agree or disagree with what they say. If you agree with it today, then we go forth with whatever they've asked us to do. If you disagree, it's not a decision you have to make right now, but you kind of have a choice then to say either kind of forget this and walk away from it, or to request a basically appeal to the full board, which is these 4 members plus 4 more for a formal hearing.
Okay.
There'd be a hearing officer sitting here instead of me explaining everything, a court reporter, everybody gets sworn in, and we call it formal because it is a more formal procedure like going to court.
Okay.
It's always asked 2 questions. Do you know why you're here today?
Yeah.
And do you have any questions about how this works?
No, I don't guess I do.
Oh, and that's fine. You may not right now.
Okay.
The point I try to make generally is if during this process, I realize you haven't sat in that chair before, this is not something you do all the time like we do. If you've got a question, get our attention, ask any questions that you have, and we'll do our best to help answer them.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Vales?
All right, we brought Ms. Turner in for consideration today. She did not disclose any arrests or previous citations or charges on her application. We found some on July 2nd, 2004. She was arrested for theft of property, a Class A misdemeanor. Court records on that offense were not provided, but it looks like she was convicted of that on August 3rd, 2004. On October 1st, 2006, she was arrested for obstruction without violence, touch or strike, domestic violence, resisting an officer without violence. A police report from Bay County, Florida was submitted, but there's no court records in your packet. On April 11th, 2006, she was charged with possession of instrument of crime. She pled guilty to that offense on June 1st, 2006, and was sentenced to fines and court costs. On September 3rd, 2007, she was charged with open container in a vehicle and allowing an intoxicated person to operate a motor vehicle in Sheboygan County, Minnesota. There were no court records submitted on that, but she was convicted on October 19, 2007. On November 29, 2009, she was charged with disorderly conduct, escape from custody, assault in the 5th degree in Red Lake Falls, Minnesota. The case was stayed for 1 year and she was ordered to pay restitution. On January 1st, 2013, she was charged and arrested with DWI in White County, Arkansas, and was ordered to pay $1,310 in fines. And on August 23rd, 2021, she was charged with failure to maintain control of a vehicle and failure to report an accident. There's also a lot of traffic violations that she's included court records for, but those aren't really dispositive about whether or not to grant her license, but they're included in your packet because she submitted them with her application. But again, she did not disclose any of these arrests, which brings her to the hearing today.
Hi. I have those records here. Yeah, well, they were supposed to be submitted already to you guys, but I have those records.
The records you've already submitted.
Uh-huh.
On our tablet.
Uh-huh.
She's asking you for what happened through all of this and probably why you didn't say it. They can read the records, but they want to hear your personal explanation.
Oh, I thought that my explanation was saying, yes, I had been arrested. Yes, I've been arrested for.
At that time, when all of this happened?
I went through just a wild time in my life. I had a bad marriage. Really no excuse, just young and inconsiderate and just not abiding by the law.
Has your life settled down?
Yes, ma'am.
What have you been doing with your life?
Well, I divorced 5 years ago. I went to work as a nurse's aide at Unity Health in White County, Arkansas. I worked as a nurse's aide for 3 years. I worked full-time. Actually, I worked overtime to put myself through nursing school. I started nursing school and it just kind of dropped 6 months in because it was too, how do I say this? Working full-time and trying to go to nursing school was too much on me. And so I started having a lot of heart trouble. And so I had to take a medical leave. Therefore, afterwards, I went into home health, personal home health, and I took care of, people that were in hospice. And then that led me to where I'm at now. Well, I figure that might be a step down from what I really wanted to do, but it might be less, stressful on my heart. And I'm just interested in this field, the medical field, period. I know a lot about, the drugs already. I know a lot about the mathematics of it. I know, so I thought this would be my next step, my next move. I thought it would be just a better decision for me. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Yeah, well, I had to walk because I was in an area with no signal. So I had to walk. And by the time there were already cops there. I just dodged a deer. I live way out in the country. I was just dodging a deer and I'm not, and I just got a new Camaro and I wasn't used to driving that car. And it was just a nervous incident, but no drugs, no alcohol.
How many times have you been like placed in handcuffs to be arrested by law enforcement?
Let's see. I haven't done the numbers on that.
So like 5 or 6, 2?
Sorry, it's taking me a second. Or that I can.
So, and I'm asking because, one of our questions, have you ever been cited, arrested for, charged with, convicted, including no low contendere plea or guilty plea of a criminal offense in any state or in federal court other than minor traffic violations, whether or not a sentence was imposed or suspended? But you answered no on that.
Well, I was under the impression that was like a drug related question, I think, but I may have accidentally just. No, I mean, obviously that was a mistake.
Right.
And you don't have any, you're not on the probation, have any fines or
I mean,
anything, you have a clean record?
yeah. I mean, not a clean.
Clean, but right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Today.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you still drink?
No, ma'am.
Medical marijuana card, anything like that?
No, ma'am.
You have anywhere lined up to work, or you been looking for any jobs?
And not yet because I was unsure of this, but I have looked. I mean, I'm on Indeed all the time looking, just been kind of waiting.
You haven't had any drug or alcohol problems?
No.
It's just been domestic stuff and
Yeah,
other stuff?
and well, when I was younger, I drank and partied a little bit, but no, I don't have drug or alcohol issues. No.
Other than the accident where she swerved to miss the deer, it has been 11 years since any of these issues.
A lot here. There's a lot here. Swerving for the deer. Could happen. Has been 12 years. I mean, I would be willing to give her a chance and make a motion to approve.
Second.
The only thing I would, regardless of what the vote might turn out to be, I implore you that in the future, just to read the question and answer it directly. I reread that question that's asked about, have you ever been charged, cited, arrested, convicted? I don't know that there's any more clear statement that could be made. Always just read. This is very important pharmacy.
Yes.
That you read whatever it is you're dealing with and that you answer.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And that's honestly the thing that gives me the most pause on whether to approve you today is the way you answered that question.
Yes, sir.
So it's either, you know, it's really one of two things. And I know you've given your reason and why you checked no, but you have an extensive past history with arrests that if you read the question should be an automatic yes for you, but not paying attention to the details. I mean, you've been a certified nursing assistant, you got into nursing school, you know the importance of in healthcare, making sure that you understand what's being asked. You're going to be dealing with orders, written prescriptions and things like that. That's the part that gives me the most pause, but my motion still stands.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. You've had so many, I don't know, for you to be here before us with all this stuff that has gone on with you. Someone's looking out for you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, good luck with
Good
your
luck.
career.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
We will take a 5-minute break. I just heard that squeal. Is it gonna do it again? Let's see. I'm the only one on, so it should be good. Okay.
Oh, we can
Yeah.
switch the mics over there.
I may rotate those again. Let's switch which one is turned on. See if that helps. Maybe, okay. I think we've got an issue with one mic somewhere. All right, so we are back together. Our Ms. Rice, I assume, with August Health. You want to introduce yourself to the board and I'll kind of tell you who you're talking to on this side of the table as well.
Thanks guys for having me today. My name is Rachel Rice. I am the manager of EMR integrations at August Health. I have 15 years of experience in long-term care pharmacy, along with working on the software side. So I've kind of toggled back and forth in my career, working at the long-term care pharmacy to the vendor and then back and forth. So that's a little bit about me. Thanks.
Working at the long-term care pharmacy, what'd you do there? Are you a pharmacist, you technician, manager?
I started at the beginning, at the very bottom. I filled, and then I worked my way up to working on integrations. So that's
Okay.
my key focus area. I've worked with other EMRs before. I would go on site to all of the long-term care communities, train on the EMR systems,
Okay.
do all of the in-house pharmacy training, software training, all of that stuff.
Great. Well, I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the board. On this side of the table, we're staff members here at the board offices. Myself, Dr. Brendan McCready, who is our assistant director, Ms. Ashley Bells, who is our attorney and legal counsel. On the other side, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members who are kind of decision makers on your request to have EMR approval for use in the state of Arkansas. Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. And Dr. Newsom's actually the chair of our informal conference. With that, I know generally when we engage on this, we ask for a presentation. I know you've got a few slides. I'm going to let you go over that, and there will be some questions that we may pepper in and amongst it or at the end of it. So I'll let you take off.
Okay, great. Just to tell you a little bit about August Health. So August Health was founded in 2020 by a physician and a tech guy from Apple. They met at a playground. I love the story. They met at a playground with their 2 children. And they were sitting there and they're like, the long-term care space or the senior living space hasn't had a great new technology partner in so long. What can we do to make that happen? So they founded it in August of 2020. So the main goal is powering in senior living communities to give them all the tools that they need to do their jobs to take care of our seniors at the communities. So we're an EMR. We have move-ins, we've got the EHR portion, we have the EMR, we do care tracking like your ADLs, we have billing and payments, and then we have insights, which is like our reporting dashboard. And it's an amazing tool. It gives them lots of insights in caring for those residents. So move-ins is, so it's like, so first of all, it can be like a CRM first, like the patient is a prospect, they might be moving in, I need a place to put them and placehold them. And then once they've actually become a move-in resident, we have a bunch of assessment documentation or move-in documentation that needs to be signed by the responsible party. And so that move-in process then sends all that documentation out so that the responsible party can sign it, and then all of the move-in paperwork is completed for that resident. So just a little bit about kind of the message flow, because I know that's important to this conversation here. So we're a pharmacy-centric EMR system, meaning that the pharmacy is responsible for entering those orders. So the prescriber sends the prescription to the pharmacy via electronic means, paper fax, whatever the regulations are here in the state. The pharmacy enters the order into their software. And then from there, after the pharmacist reviews the prescription, the message flows over into August Health and goes into our inbox. From our inbox, then the users at the communities, and typically they're the nurses or a supervisor med tech, will go in and approve those messages to validate that they are in fact the right resident, all of your 5 rights. So once they approve that medication, then the medication will go onto the MAR and then they could administer it from there. Same thing with a discontinuation. If the pharmacy gets a discontinuation from the prescriber, same flow. They DC it on the pharmacy side and it flows over to the e-mark, goes into the inbox. They have to approve the discontinue. They also have autonomy themselves, so they can go in and they can discontinue things. They can add new orders themselves.
So
System,
I'm sorry.
that won't change anything in the pharmacy system.
No, it will not.
Yeah.
No.
So there's an integration between the pharmacy software system and your platform.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yep. So we work with lots of different pharmacy softwares, Framework LTC, Pioneer RX, QS1. My mind is blanking. Prescribers Connection is a third party. All of the major ones, we're working on 3 others right now as well. So we're kind of in all of the big spaces.
What if a resident by choice wants to use a pharmacy that doesn't integrate with your platform? What happens then?
So the way our integration works is that they are integrated with one integrated pharmacy. They're kind of the source of truth, so to speak. If the communities have, obviously the resident have the ability to choose their pharmacy. A lot of times what the pharmacies will do is they'll work out an agreement with the communities and say, we'll profile only those orders for you to get them onto the MAR, and then you can approve them from there. So like if they got them from Walgreens, CVS, any other pharmacy, they would send it to the integrated pharmacy, they would enter it, and then this flow would happen. Or if they might enter those manually themselves at the community level.
So if a patient wants to use a specific pharmacy, their data and information is still getting sent to another pharmacy?
Correct. If that's what the community has worked out with the pharmacy.
You're saying you guys strictly work with one pharmacy per community?
No, we can integrate with multiple. We can integrate with as many as needed. In this space, typically you don't see that a lot with pharmacy initiated. Any of your pharmacy initiated EMARs are not really designed that way, where you kind of get a flow of different pharmacies into one, because we're not sending the prescriptions outbound, like a skilled would be.
So for Arkansas, if you cannot integrate with more than one pharmacy, it would not be an approvable system.
Okay. And we can
So,
integrate.
and but in that, like, I know what our board members are asking because I've been here for a long time doing this. We've had systems that would come in the past and say, we only integrate with a single pharmacy, and anyone else, it could just be a manual process. That's not an option. And you know, because of some of our patient freedom of choice, whether it is, you know, skilled nursing or assisted living or whatever other memory care, anything else, you know, the patient, other than like a Medicare A bed or a hospice patient, you know, has freedom of choice to choose whichever pharmacy they want. The home can put in guidelines that, you know, the pharmacy has to have certain packaging, you know, available for the home. Like it has to be in cards. It has to include the lot, the expiration, the directions, or something along those lines. But they can't say you can only use a pharmacy that's integrated. So we always ask the systems, you know, do you have the ability to connect to 4 pharmacies for this assisted living that all 4 would have the same level of functionality to be able to put in those orders and feed them in or see it?
The software dictates the functionality, but
Okay.
yes, the answer is yes. We can integrate with as many as possible. The software that the pharmacy uses dictates how the end result to the community looks. But we do try to keep them all kind of the same,
Okay.
but functionality is slightly different there.
And then how on your system are you splitting up billing to where the home pays for their portion and the pharmacy pays for the pharmacy functionality portion?
Yeah, so we don't do split billing. We bill them separately. So we bill the community for their portion of using whatever modules they're using. And then we bill the pharmacy for use of the API.
Okay.
So that's their responsibility. So there's no split. They don't have to cut it and charge the community for anything.
And for your system, is the billing to the pharmacy based on like the licensed bed number or the actual number of people using it, or is it a flat fee?
So it's usage based, and it's just per resident per month.
That's using it for that pharmacy?
Yeah, so it's a message that we get. So as long as I get one message for that resident that month, they get charged for that resident.
Okay.
So
But, and I'm asking because of other answers I've gotten in the past. So if it's a 50 bed facility and there's 10 patients that use, you know, Dr. Boone's pharmacy, he gets charged for the use of these modules for 10 patients, not 50.
And so they're not modules on the pharmacy billing. It's just
Okay.
one, the API, yeah, just the API. And you are correct. Yes. So they would get billed for 10. And then if they were integrated with another pharmacy and they dealt with the rest of the 20,
Yeah.
then they would get.
They would get charged. Okay. And there's basically a sign up cost to integrate initially.
Correct. Yep. We charge an initial integration fee. There's the ongoing monthly fee. And then there are a couple, like we do a lot of integration transfers where community is integrated with one pharmacy, they switch to a different pharmacy. We have the transfer fee there and then a pharmacy software conversion fee.
And the other thing is, and you'd be able to set it up to, we have some other weird rules that could change in the future, but right now it's only allowed for Arkansas facilities to community pharmacies permitted within the state of Arkansas. It's only facilities that we inspect. So it can't be done from Missouri or it can't be done from Florida. It's only within the state of Arkansas is one of the lockdowns for the interconnectivity of these systems at this time.
Okay. Okay.
That answers my question satisfactorily. Yeah, do you have any Arkansas pharmacies that are trying to sign up with you now or?
We have communities.
Okay, so you have some of the homes that want to use the EMR. And if they're shopping your EMR, you want the ability to say, and you can connect to your pharmacies in Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just a couple of metrics for you. EMR's been around for a little bit over a year, so we're kind of fresh in the space. So currently we have 300 active integrations. We've got 80 different pharmacies, 9 different pharmacy softwares, and we're averaging 33,000 messages a day that are coming in from the pharmacies. And that is that. I can dive into the demo. Is there anything specific that you guys would like to see, or I can just kind of just do a generalized overview of the entire platform?
I think generalized overview.
So we're a web-based platform. We do have offline functionality. And when they log into August Health, this is what they see. This is the list of all of the residents. And this is a test site. None of these people are real. So you have a list of all of the residents. We talked about the inbox a little bit. So when the pharmacy sends a message inbound, we match on a couple things. We match on first name, last name, gender, and date of birth. If all 4 of those items match, then we're going to associate that pharmacy message order with the resident in August. And then they're going to go in and they'll see the number of pending approvals for that specific resident, where they'll go in and approve that prescription.
When you say the pharmacy sends a message, is it through like the switch data or are you? Is that through the switch data or is that like FTP? Where
It
you guys get
depends
that
on the
data?
software. So some softwares, we have a listener installed like on their server and it listens on their server to pick up a message. Sometimes it'll be over web service. It just depends on the pharmacy software.
It's a live feed though?
I'm sorry?
Is it a live feed?
It is, yes. Mhm. So to approve to go back to the resident, if the resident doesn't match, then we require that the community assign the resident to that pharmacy message to ensure that it gets assigned to the correct resident. They only have to do that one time. Once they do that, then that resident is assigned with that pharmacy ID. Going forward, all of those pharmacy messages will associate. If they wanted to approve a prescription, they would just click on any of these residents here. It's going to take them to their medication tab, where here they'll see a list of all of their active medications and pending medications. We have several different kind of flags or tags. We have pending as new, pending discontinue, pending update, and then possible duplicates where if the prescription that we just got already exists on the patient profile, we're going to flag it just so that there's no concern about duplicate therapies there.
And this is when you say when they accept it, is this a nurse? Is it the medical director who?
It's permission. Yeah, it's permission based, but typically you see it being like a med tech like supervisor role and then above. So whoever like the nurse would be at that community or an assigned med tech. So they would just click on any of these tiles. They can review this. If I click on this tile here, it's going to open it up and it's going to give me all of my information about this prescription. The the drug, the directions, the start date, prescription number, the pharmacy I'm getting it from, the physician. And then it's going to kind of go down to the schedule, where they enter the schedule, how often they're giving it. We allow documentation. So if they need to record, for example, a pain scale before giving a PRN medication, they can have required documentation. We also have conditional parameters. If you have a prescription that's like digoxin, if pulse is less than 60, hold it. We allow them to put that conditional parameter in and they hold that prescription. We've got place for a diagnosis, the prescribing physician, place to put the prescription on hold. They would approve that prescription from here. They also have the ability to reject anything. So if they don't like the way that it looks, it's a wrong resident, something's wrong with it, they would just reject it, enter a note for the rejection, and then they would pick up the phone and call the pharmacy and let them know the reason they rejected it. You can also view discontinued orders just by toggling this discontinued here. It's going to show a list of all of the discontinued orders for this resident. Have resident reporting. So you can download the MAR, the med list. So if we look at this physician order, we can formulate it for physician orders. So if we hit continue here. You've got the resident's face sheet or physician order, excuse me. So it's got all of the medical information at the top, followed by the medications. If the format for physician is enabled, you see now that we allow the quantities, the refills, dispenses written, and then loading, there will be a spot for the doctor to sign. This would be from the community side. The community would generate this. This is like kind of like those 90-day research or maybe yearly research that they do in an assisted living. Then we have a MAR. The MAR looks as you would expect a MAR to look. And this is my training site. So there's not going to be any initials in the boxes, but it's the MAR. Looks just like a MAR. You would expect a MAR to look. The initials in the boxes, the medication names, and then any exceptions or pass notes will be listed down here at the bottom. And then this can be printed out and sent where it needs to go. So here on the resident profile screen, we also have tasks. So tasks would be things like maybe I have move-in tasks where I have a whole set of documentations that I have to get. Maybe it's a task where I just need to go take out the trash. Those are the kind of tasks that can be built in here. We have contacts where they would enter the responsible person, any other physician information, medical power of attorney, all of those sorts of contacts in there. In our details, this is basically the patient overview. So all the admission details, care highlights, their room number, immunization, diagnosis, allergies, all of those things. We have documents. So since we're a full EHR, they have the ability to import those documents in. So if they get a paper fax from the prescriber, they can input that in and upload it in here to documents. Under care, this is where their ADLs would be. So if they're using care tracking, they would have we have an app, a phone app, where they can go in and do all of their ADLs. Talked about medications. Notes would be what you expect it to be. Any notes or incidents. We have all of the vitals that they can add as well on an ad hoc basis. And then finally is our billing, where they can bill for the room rate. I'm going to show you what the EMAR looks like. So if we go to EMAR, have our pass meds here. It's going to drop me into whatever med pass time my computer currently is in. And we're in the lunch med pass. So any medication, any resident that have medications due will be lit up in color. Residents that are gray either have been completed or have no medications due for that med pass range. To administer the medication, they're just going to click anywhere on that resident. We're in the process of barcode scanning. So we do have one community live with barcode scanning. So future state, they'll either be able to scan the label on the barcode on the label, or they will be able to just click on the box to mark the medication as done. They would have to manually add the barcode if it came from like a retail pharmacy that's not integrated, yes. I guess I kind of classify like Walgreens or CVS a little differently than I classify something that uses like a framework or a Pioneer RX, yeah. So they would have to, basically what the roadmap for that is, what they would just have to do is scan that barcode and then associate it to that medication. They wouldn't have to manually input anything. Correct, yes. PRN medications are down here under the toggle. It tells you the last time that PRN was given. You just mark the PRN as given. It's going to ask them for a reason as to why you're giving the PRN. And then they would just confirm the med pass. Any exceptions or reasons can be listed here. You can add any notes that they need to, given that specific med pass. And then they're all set to go. They confirm it. And now they're back to the list of residents. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Happy to go over anything else that you guys might like to see or answer any other questions that you guys have.
Any concerns from board staff?
So all of that functionality that you just showed us would be available to one community from multiple different pharmacies.
Correct.
Okay.
Integrated with multiple different.
Because earlier you said that you'd have to have one pharmacy and they would have to profile prescriptions to have this same integration. So I'm just trying to
No, so
figure that out.
typically in this space, that's what we see a lot. So while we can integrate with as many different pharmacies as possible, what in my experience and what I see in this space is that they typically have one pharmacy that they choose to integrate with at the community level. And then that pharmacy either will profile those non-service residents or the community will manually enter. But we absolutely can integrate with as many different ones as possible.
I would say in the state of Arkansas, the community, you would need to have it where the community is manually doing it themselves, because we have some rules about, if it's meds for delivery or home delivery, which we would include in this. There are aspects that if the patient doesn't choose the pharmacy shouldn't see anything about the patient. I understand you could have like HIPAA information sharing agreements and stuff, but we have some oddities about pharmacy that could be a conflict.
Okay, that makes sense. And I would expect the pharmacy that the community chooses to work with would know the regulations regarding that.
We would expect that as well.
Do
We
you,
might get surprised though.
do you have communities that currently use multiple pharmacies, and is there a upcharge per patient from the community if they're not using the selected pharmacy that the community wants?
No upcharges from our perspective. We don't charge anybody anything extra. They just get their flat rate, or the pharmacy gets billed per usage. And I'm sorry, what was the?
My question was, do you have any communities that are having their patients have to pay like a $250 fee to use another pharmacy rather than the community selected pharmacy?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And Dr. McCrae's asking that because if we find out that there is a community that is trying to coerce or force patients to use that based on your software, we'll decertify the software and solve the problem that way if we have to.
Okay.
We've only had a couple of instances where people were adamant that, I can understand if you say, well, I want to use this pharmacy and they only send stuff in bottles and the community says we really need it in cards. But like if you have TRICARE patients, you can't force TRICARE to put it in cards, not bottles. Like the community has to deal with that. But we've
Allow repackaging in the state?
No.
No, okay. I know some states do allow repackaging, specifically the state I live in. So that's a lot, like what will happen is that they'll send it to that integrated pharmacy, they'll repackage it, and then it'll be on the MAR so that they can scan it with the new packaging.
I cringe to think of the enormous liability of taking someone else's medications in and repackaging, relabeling them and sending them back out, but that's just me. That answers, I think, all our staff questions satisfactorily. We would look for a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Is that a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Thank you
guys
for your
very much.
presentation.
I think we'll get you a letter to reflect, that it was approved as presented. The other good thing about, since this is on YouTube, if anyone goes, well, I don't understand this, like, well, you can go watch the video. Like, it goes through everything. Okay,
Excellent.
thank you for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate your guys' time very much. I'll have a good day.
Thank you. Let's go, because we need to go see with her who signed up for what, and then we fill out our forms for request. But we can break and go check that. Not really a board decision. Nothing else? Y'all adjourned? All right.